Joining me right now is Utah Senator, Judiciary and Joint Economic Committee member Mike Lee. Senator, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here. Your reaction to President Biden saying it's part of the process?
It's absolutely galling in its refusal to acknowledge even a modicum of empathy for a member of the United States Senate, a member of his own party, by the way, who's having things happen to her that are not part of the process. It is not part of the process to assault a person like that, to go into a restroom with someone, filming them, and for him to defend this in any way, shape, or form as part of the process is absurd. Happy 25th anniversary, by the way. It's a great accomplishment, and it really is an amazing thing you've been on this long, and look forward to 25 more years.
Thank you so much for that, Senator. We so appreciate it. And the public has been with Fox News for 25 years because they are looking for truth, and they are looking for us to call out hypocrisy, which is what we're looking at this morning with the Biden agenda. Is there anything that Republicans can do to stop this out-of-control agenda in terms of spending, higher taxes, and, of course, this failure to unite us by actually dividing us once again, targeting unvaccinated people, targeting the Republicans, and then fueling the fire by saying it's just part of the process by getting harassed by mobs?
Yeah. Republicans can help. They can help by perpetuating the message and voting consistent with the message. Government expansion right now is not a solution. Government expansion is the problem. And that's what we've got to fight against. So, look, the Democrats want Republican votes to help them to suspend the debt ceiling, not just raise it, but suspend it, so as to create a sort of debt ceiling Mardi Gras where they can do anything they want with no consequence. They want Republican votes to do that, and yet they don't care about having Republican votes and how they actually spend it. This is crazy. It's especially crazy to do at a time when inflation is hitting Americans, especially poor and middle class Americans throughout this country, hard. They're finding it more difficult and more expensive to buy everything from gas to groceries, everything from housing to health care. And a good part of this is specifically because the federal government's spending trillions and trillions of dollars at a time more than it has. If this causes inflation, that's bad for poor and middle class America.
So what can you tell us about what's going on in the Senate right now? Nancy Pelosi wants these votes to happen October 31st. We know that Manchin and Sinema are pushing back on the $3.5 trillion price tag, which is really $5.5 trillion because of all of those gimmicks in there. How do you see this playing out?
Well, I think Senators Manchin and Sinema should be commended for being independent-minded and for being willing to look at this based on what they think is best for the country and their constituents. And I think it's telling that their party is willing to beat them up for it and willing to even defend those who do horrible things to them in the process. And look, the door's open. We'd love to have them join us on our side of the aisle. But regardless of whether that ever happens, I hope and expect that they will continue to maintain their defiant willingness to stand up for the American people and those who elected them. I, at the end of the day, think that Democrats will pass something, but I'm not sure what that looks like. It could be a lot better or a lot worse because of Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema's willingness to continue to push back. I hope they'll keep doing it. And I hope they'll deny the Democrats of this opportunity to pad their own political resumes at the expense of the American people.
Well, we know that the agenda is being held up by the Democrat infighting, but Biden is taking aim at Republicans, blaming you and your colleagues for the debt ceiling debate and not helping them raise, if not eliminate, the debt ceiling. He's not even talking about the division in his own party. Here's the president yesterday. Listen to this.
Not only are Republicans refusing to do their job, they're threatening to use their power to prevent us from doing our job, saving the economy from a catastrophic event. I think, quite frankly, it's hypocritical, dangerous, and disgraceful.
Senator, your reaction?
This is absolutely insane. I mean, I think I disagree with every word, every syllable he uttered, including but, and the. What he's saying is it's hypocritical of you to not help me do more things to hurt you and the people you represent. That's essentially what it boils down to. he's also looking at this from the standpoint of the federal government being this omnipotent, omniscient, all-loving being that cares for the American people and no one else can. Look, the federal government lacks the ability to create wealth. It has only the ability to redistribute wealth, and doesn't usually do that very well. So it's much better when we keep the federal government focused on the few basic things that only it can do, like national defense and regulating interstate and foreign trade, rather than deciding that we're just going to print trillions of dollars at a time. Moreover, he's ignoring something with regard to the debt limit. Democrats do, in fact, have the ability to raise the debt ceiling without Republican votes. There's a simple procedure that he would have to follow to do it, and yet they haven't done that. One has to ask the question, why? They're not willing to do what they know they want to do. They'd rather blame Republicans, and yet they don't need Republicans. Why is that?
Yeah.
What's really going on here?
Yeah. Senator, we got to jump, but real quick, a lot of this policy feels to me like it's right out of the Chinese Communist Party's playbook, whether it's the censorship, whether it's the surveillance, the division, the power grabs. Senator, what should we make of what the Commerce Secretary is telling us is the U.S.'s China policy? I know you all will be debating China policy soon, but it doesn't seem like there has any teeth to any of this policy, and we keep giving wins to companies like Huawei.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, isn't it? Just as we're becoming a bigger, more centralized government, it seems like we're making decisions that are going to make it easier for big companies within big communist countries like China, an easier pass. I don't think that's the right approach. And I think we're headed down a dangerous path. We can still pull out of it. I hope and pray that President Biden will see fit to do that.
Senator, thanks very much for being here this morning. We so appreciate it. Senator Mike Lee joining us this morning in D.C. We'll see you soon, sir. Thank you. Coming up, big